we are mobilizing right now. This is the first time in American history where we don't give a damn about nobody else but us.
When you say mobilize, what do you mean?
We're mobilizing, we're worried about ourselves. And this is the first time in history where we're not focused on other groups.
During the Jim Crow era, when segregation was at its highest, when blacks had the fewest opportunities, guess what? They thrived. So even under the most oppressive era in modern American history, blacks did better. You want to know why? Because the family stuck together. We didn't have fatherless households. We had blacks that stuck together, that had communities, that built up stores, built up an infrastructure, and they did better in the 1960s with harsher conditions. To 2025, they have more rights than ever before. They have more access than they've ever had before. They cry about reparations even though they get affirmative action and a bunch of different federal and state benefits that people of other groups cannot get, yet they're still some of the worst performing. I wonder why.
So this comment has to be acknowledged. Not only were there slave owners like 5 generations back, but segregation only ended 61 years ago. When segregation ended, which, mind you, was based in white supremacy, do you truly believe that white supremacy ended with it? Do you think the minds of everybody that experienced segregation, that supported segregation, changed because it ended? Do you think they suddenly brought their kids into this world, my parents' generation, and really raised them to love everybody, regardless of their skin color? Do you really think they took the time to address their minds, to get rid of all of the negative views that they had towards black people and people of color? Do you think they sat there and they dissected their thought process? Or do you think it was just easier for them to pass their thought processes down to their kids? We still have police officers that lived through the times of segregation, judges that lived through those times, and police officers and judges that are the children of people that lived through those times and supported those times. And that would be why you have racial profiling when it comes to police officers. That would be why you have racist juries. That would be why you still have people that are refusing to hire people that are not white. That would also be why you have white people who say, oh, black people and people of color are disproportionately in prisons because the color of their skin, because they're inherently bad, without taking the time to do the research and figuring out the root causes of why this is. It would also be white privilege, why you're not taking the time to figure out why this is. If it doesn't personally affect you, you don't have to understand it. I'm just going to say this. If you believe in God, if you're a Christian, and you believe that people, human beings, are created in the image of God, but you choose to dislike, to not listen to the experiences of people that don't have white skin, if you choose not to truly, fully love people without white skin, I want you to understand this. 10% of the world's population is white. That means you only love 10% of your God. Can a God accept a human being into heaven who only loves 10% of him, who will only fight for and protect 10% of him? Because to me, that doesn't make sense.
I don't know how many times I will keep on saying this, but in as much as it concerns my brothers and sisters in the United States, I don't have a problem repeating this. You cannot take from the source, as it is from the source where it gets to be regenerated. The rejuvenation that works or that happens within Black Americans' creativity makes them become so much inevitable to stay without. Majority of white people, they are learning, especially when they started to put the whites-only community and all these things and segregation and during all these times, right? They started learning so hard, and they learned one basic thing, one simple thing. And that thing was they cannot do without black people. And over time, this has been proven. Wait, I might be making this shit up, but let me tell you, look at history. Look at how Jim Crow worked. Look at all the segregation, how it worked during those times. you understand that these people, whether consciously or subconsciously, they depended on black labor. They depended on the black work labor force. And so as we're transitioning, and that's where you understand it was so difficult for white people to let go the freedom of black people. They didn't want to free slaves. So many revolutions happened until the abolishment of slave trade happened. So when the abolishment, and you understand, when you get to look at history, you understand why it was difficult for them to let go. Because they literally can't do nothing without black people. Fast forward to the 21st century. You think they will still do without black people? I don't really know. You know the answer. They cannot do without black people. That answers you as to why we are seeing all those plans that they made are not working. Hey, brothers and sisters, I don't want to take much of your time. I'm going to let you watch the video, and hey, I'll be back. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, and share. And hey, let me see you in the next video, as I'm going to be giving commentary on this.
Biggest things that I realized that nobody's talking about when it comes to segregation is that we don't mind it. It's white people that got the problem. Because when y'all realize that we literally don't need y'all get mad. We've created thousands of thriving black cities and countries. Because we can do it without y'all just don't get it. Y'all need to be all up in our space and all up in our mix. For what reason? Because when I've gone to primarily white spaces, I'm sorry, but I'm not impressed. But y'all can't say the same for us. Like, there's been over 100 massacres on black cities and towns simply because y'all are outraged that we can thrive, that we can come together, and that we can do things no matter what the circumstances are. Because last time I checked, it's white people that mainly benefit from government assistance. But y'all love to say it's us, don't y'all? But instead, we can take the bare minimum and create enormous things. Can you not do the same? I guess not, without the government's help.
Last time I was up here, we was talking about how everybody thought black American people didn't know what we was doing when we wasn't protesting and coming outside. But we literally are key players in this fucking game. Now that folk are starting to see that there's a reason why black Americans kept refusing to protest, right? Because we know these people better than they know themselves. We keep telling everybody that, but everybody don't believe us, okay? We know these people better than they know themselves. We keep telling everybody that the playbook is in Black American history. That's the reason why they refuse to teach it to y'all, okay? Because if they were to teach y'all Black American history, they would literally teach y'all the ins and outs of white supremacy. Tactics, manipulation, psychological shit, and all the stuff that leads up to the major things that they do. So, let's hone in on a particular part of Black American history, right? We're going to hone in on the fact that of what ended the Reconstruction era and the various different massacres and even the lynchings, right? The dark stuff that happened. Consistently, what was a precursor to them YT clear folk, the clear showing their goddamn ass was black people doing well. That's the precursor. Black people doing well and black people minding their business, right? That's one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is YT people not doing well. Okay? The Reconstruction era literally almost shifted the American economy to black Americans being in the driver's seat of black economics, right? Of equity, right? It was a huge wealth transfer that was getting ready to take place because after emancipation, right? Black people knew how to do all the jobs. Okay? YT folk did not have the skills to compete or do any of the jobs. So, and then black people were buying up land, like plots of land, buying up a lot of plantation owners were selling land to stay afloat and stuff like that. And black people was buying it. Okay. And so this is what gave rise to those really big black towns that we talk about, very wealthy black towns that we talk about, Black Wall Street, et cetera, et cetera. That's what popped all of that off. So massacres really were about, one, kicking black people back into a place of like poverty, and two, stealing our shit. Okay? Stealing our shit. Taking our houses, taking our land, taking our businesses. They would literally terrorize the black people into leaving and then move their asses into business and then run the business or change the business into whatever they wanted to change it into because they were not doing well. Okay? If you track it, the Great Depression era, in that time period, whole bunch of terrorizing of black towns took place. Why? Because YT people were poor. It didn't really bother black people to be poor because black people already knew how to get by with really next to nothing. Okay, we gonna make something shake regardless, right? And we also still had wealthy, sustainable towns because our money wasn't actually in the stock market. We don't ever actually put our money in the stock market like that. So the crash really didn't affect us to the way that it degree that it affected everybody else. Outside of the super rural areas, black people really struggled in the super rural remote areas. So let's fast forward into today and why black people knew that these people were going to be trying to come into the white man fight back, because they are literally coded to believe that every problem they have, black people are the cause of it. Okay, every problem they have, anything that go wrong in their life, it's a black person's fault. Okay, black people are literally their get out of accountability card. Black people are their get out of failure card. Black people are their get out of success card, lack of success card. Okay, anytime things do not go the way that they think that it should, the privilege ain't privileging and the supremacy ain't supremacy, they are looking for a way to make black people the problem. Okay, black people and we know because black people was on the other side of fucking town. We talking about people who get in a fight with their white wife, okay, over their white marriage issues, and then go into a black neighborhood and try to kidnap a black woman or kidnap a black man for something. Even if you go into like the lynchings that occurred, my wife said that the black man was looking at me. No, his wife was literally fucking another white man, and they didn't want to sit up there and deal with that issue, so they went and put it on a black man and terrorized the black neighborhood. Okay, black people have been the scapegoat for white people issues for hundreds of years. This is like epigenetic coded in them. Okay, they don't know how to cope with problems that are created by them. Okay, they don't know how to cope with the shit that they actually fucking cause. Okay, and the fact that black people are refusing to come outside, black people are not giving them an out. That is why we held off, and that's why we chilling. Because we ain't giving them no easy outs. And it is frustrating the fuck out of them. Okay? It is frustrating the fuck out of them. Okay? So they're going to go around and they're going to terrorize like the leftists. Okay? They're going to terrorize the libs. But they can't get at who they really want to get at, which is black American people, because black American people ain't playing ball the way that they want us to, because we studied history. Everybody else didn't. We know our history. We know how these people give it up. Okay, so y'all continue staying on the chessboard. Black people, we up though. We up, and we just watching the things happen. Because when it's time for us to come out, when it's time for us to come outside, baby, they gonna wish we had gone in the house.
If I told you there was a black community in Coleman, Alabama, would you believe me? I did some research and some homework. Let's go. Y'all, I went down a rabbit hole on this one. Y'all know Coleman County, Alabama, right? We know it's infamous for the sundown town. Still exists today. But I found out there's a thriving black community that has stood strong over centuries. I know y'all ain't hear about it because I ain't heard about it unless you live there. Now, in my head, I'm like, how do you have a black community in a sundown town? I don't get it. And how did it survive when all the other towns just went up in flames? Like, okay, let's talk about it. This is the story of the colony. A testament of resilience, self-reliance, and survival against all odds. I told y'all. Founded during the Reconstruction era, the colony was established by formerly enslaved people who were determined to create a safe haven for their families. Like Major Reed and his brother Enoch Montgomery, both were former slaves. Were amongst the first settlers, y'all. They acquired the land through claims, walking miles to Huntsville. I've been to Huntsville to secure their homestead at first. White settlers dismissed this area as a wasteland. This is how they did it. The white settlers thought the land was too hard and too infertile for use. So the difference allowed black families to build their own schools, their own business, and farms without interference. Check that. Community leaders were essential in shaping the colony into what it is today. You hear me? Today. Major Reed and Enoch Montgomery, these brothers laid the foundation for the colony by acquiring the land and encouraging others to settle. Reed Bryars, he bought the first cotton gin and later partnered with others to establish a steam-powered mill providing vital infrastructure for the community's economy. M.A. Griffin inspired the community to build a school in 1927 using local resources. This became the center of education and progress. And Grandma Kizzy, the elder born into slavery, she's remembered for her strength and influence in maintaining the community's legacy. So how did the colony survive when so many other Black communities were burned or destroyed? Part of the answer lies in the land. Initially seen as worthless by white settlers, so the colony was left alone, giving Black residents the space to thrive over time. They cultivated land, built schools, mills, stores, and passed their properties down through generations and generations. This made them less vulnerable for external interference. But there's more to this story. The community's strength came from their unity. The residents support each other. If you're anything like me, you're like, how did they survive in a sundown town when it gets dark? Well, all of y'all went in? No. I got some more information. Originally, the colony wasn't even a part of Coleman County, okay? It was absorbed. Yeah, it was absorbed because those white settlers saw that Fetty coming in from that Black community, so they absorbed the colony, okay? They didn't blend it. They just moved their boundaries over. You understand me? T video, but it's very informative and it's very juicy and it's very like, yes, my people. So if you want to learn more, look up the colony. There's a whole bunch of information out there because I found it. There is no books, but there is articles and there are leaders in the community. Y'all need to look it up. I don't want to put them in this video because, safety. Just in case somebody's being hateful and trying to find stuff. No, it ain't happening on this page. But y'all, do your homework like I did, and I'll see you on the flip side in the next video, which is healthcare, but that's going to be later tonight because I got 2 healthcare alerts. Okay. I forgot to say. And what do y'all think? Drop your comments below. Could you believe this? I'm so excited.
What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. And today I want to talk about how African Americans are doing just fine while European Americans are suffering, right? During this crisis, right? This economic crisis, this food shortage crisis. And by the looks of things online, as European Americans are really telling us how they're struggling in America, and I'm listening to their struggles, right? Because they're finally talking and we're watching. I'm like, okay, what's going on with you, right? We see that they're having issues, as far as like hunger or whatnot, right? And I'm starting to truly believe that these guys are like really in their houses starving, right? Like you guys are like in your houses with no food. And as an African American, I couldn't even fathom that, even during the time of Fathom. So I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to take some time to explain to you what's happening in the African American community. And even the African Americans, and not all African Americans are aware that this is something that we do systematically within our community, which is African cultural consistency, and actually has nothing to do with religion, even though we use religious organizations to do the thing that we do, which is very communal. And this is why we are okay. This is something that we do in the African American community. And you will see that every African community does this. This is something Africans do communally by default, automatically, no matter what culture we are a part of. And it's one of the reasons why I don't like it when people always say, oh, Black people are not united. We don't work together as community. And we use other groups as examples of why it is how we should be like them. Like we say, oh, look at the Jews, look at what they're doing. Oh, look at the Latinos, look what they're doing. And look at the Europeans, look what they're doing. Listen, African people are the only people on the planet that put so much pressure on ourselves to unify and be communal because we are naturally like that. Latinos never claim to be unified unless they're attacking Black people because they're smelling themselves. But then come to find out, if in the real world, Latinos are anything but unified and they got the same problems we have, they're just in denial about them.
So there's a lot of talk about immigrants just coming over here and doing so much better than Black Americans. First of all, they compare us to everybody. They put us in a pot with everybody. Y'all comparing us against a bunch of different people from different countries and different ethnic backgrounds. We are one group of people from one country. Let's start there. Comparing us to Ethiopians, Kenyans, Nigerians, Jamaicans, Bohemians, Middle Easterns, Egyptians, Ukrainians, motherfucking blood clot, Japanese, Asians, Chinese, like that's absolutely insane. Let's just start there. Second of all, we've faced systemic racism in this country. I think this goes over a lot of you all's head. We've literally been economically disenfranchised. Y'all really don't understand because you have not gone through it. You, with your immigrant self,
You were able to come into a system where you have rights, you have certain freedoms and liberties that you are afforded and awarded because of the plight and the fight of Black Americans. You didn't have to fight for anything. And because of your immigrant status, you already come in with a clean slate. A lot of you will identify as a pale face on your documentations. You have a clean bill of credit. Your social security or whatever type of EIN, whatever type of number you're using, it's not the same. We literally are just playing by a different set of rules. And I'm going to let this Claire woman explain it to you. It's a little lengthy, so, grab your popcorn, stick around. But I'm about to stitch this, and we're going to listen to the whole thing because she breaks it down very well. And y'all tend to listen to them more than y'all listen to us. So listen to this. Hold up. I'll be right back.
It's systemic racism. You're looking at trends that have affected the wealth gap between the races historically in the United States. This is not about a person being a racist or your grandma being a racist. It has to do with what the economy looked like for white persons and Black persons historically in this country. Back during the time of the Civil War, the white folks had 56 times more wealth on average than a Black person. So it was 56 to 1. Just 10 years later, in 1870, after Reconstruction, that gap went from 56 to 1 to 23 to 1. Pretty dramatic improvement in 10 years. The reason for that market improvement is that while Black people were now allowed to purchase land and assets, so Black wealth was going up, simultaneously, white wealth was coming down because what was a huge part of their wealth? Slaves. Human beings that they were no longer allowed to own. By 1900, the gap had closed all the way to 11 to 1. The average white person had 11 times more wealth than the average Black person. And then it stalled out. And the reason it stalled out is because Black people were still being discriminated against. They didn't have the same access to credit, if any access to credit. Legislative attempts at narrowing the gap were shot down, trying to finish narrowing the gap were shot down, like the 40 acres and a mule thing that never got passed. They faced widespread discrimination in education. The schools were still segregated and they weren't getting the best funding and they weren't getting the best teachers. They were discriminated against in the workforce. Now from 1900, when it was 11 to 1, to 1960, over 60 years, the gap squeezed a little bit smaller to 8 to 1. So for every Black family that had $10,000 in total assets, the average white family had 80,000 in total assets. Okay, and how did we go from 11 to 1 to 8 to 1? Well, a couple things happened. FDR made it illegal to discriminate against Black workers, but only for purposes of the military and government positions. But still, every little bit helps. And then also, you had World War I and World War II. So many white men left the American workforce that Black men were finally able to start moving up into higher paid positions. That doesn't mean they were paid the same as the white person who had previously done that job, but they were being paid more than they were previously, and they were getting access to higher skilled work. So then by the 1980s, the gap had closed to 5 to 1. And what was helping close the gap? Civil rights that had taken place between 1965 and 1980. Fair Housing Act, federal minimum wage that did not discriminate. So those things were helping close that gap just a little bit. So that takes us up to 1980. But what has happened in the last 45 years? We were at 5 to 1 gap. How much have we closed since then? None. In the last 45 years, we've gone backwards. So we are now at a 6 to 1 gap. The average white family has 6 times more wealth than the average Black family. And why is that happening? Well, because wealth compounds. It's not just about who has the ability to earn X salary. It's that the white families were starting with more wealth, more property, more stocks, bonds, etc. And they're able to compound that wealth. Whereas if the Black and brown populations are starting without those assets, they don't have the ability to compound. They end up having to spend what they earn. They have to consume the majority of the income that they're earning just to sustain a living.
And through all of that, you all still are not doing better than us. You're not. We have millionaires, billionaires, people that are making high 6 figures, people that are making low 6 figures, people that are college educated. We've gone through the gauntlet. And a lot of what we've gone through, you all were actually able to hijack our civil rights movement and turn it into an immigration movement. So you should be thanking us instead of trying to compete and compare, because we've been in this country since the inception and we've continuously fought. We've continuously built. We've continuously, honed in on our skill sets. What the hell have y'all been doing in y'all's country that you all govern? Y'all ain't been living side by side, neck with oppressors that's literally been trying to unalive you for centuries. Yet you have to come here to piggyback off of our accomplishments of Black Americans, the ones that y'all love to look down on and talk down on. You have to migrate here and then slap us in the face and say, we built the country. Y'all ain't ish. Why y'all not doing this? Why y'all ain't doing that? As if systemic racism wasn't a thing. As if some of those policies and some of those ideologies are not still in full effect in 2025. Spread love is the Brooklyn way.
True. Not one Black person alive today was enslaved in America. That is true. Black people are wanting free stuff. Okay, I don't know. I want free stuff. So I guess white people want free stuff too. Reparations isn't about someone who had been enslaved and now is not enslaved. We had a chance to do that and we blew it back in the 1880s and 90s. So 40 acres and a mule, for some it was more, for some it was less. 40 acres and a mule is what was promised to those working on plantations. That never happened. Then sharecropping. Then all the Jim Crow. All of those things prevented Black Americans from establishing any kind of generational wealth up and until the Civil Rights Act. Now, we can argue for a really long time that the Civil Rights Act didn't clear everything up. It didn't. But at least it was now illegal to discriminate. So I want you to think about if your family and ancestors had to start at 1964, where you and your family would be today. How would you have paid for college? Would your family have been able to help you with that? Where would you have lived? Reparations is about making up for what wasn't given then, which could have propelled that community into wealth today. We are finally seeing Black Americans with multi-generational wealth starting to emerge, and it's only going to keep on going, and that's great. But what reparations does is it makes up for the fact that you had all these enslaved Americans and then, okay, you're free with nothing. Starting from scratch in a system where they weren't even counted as a full human being, where they were limited in what jobs they could have. They didn't have access to Social Security. Now we have Civil Rights Act, 1964. Everyone has equal rights. So imagine if that's where your ancestors were starting. That's why reparations are important. And that's why I think we're remiss now for not taking a serious look at reparations and how we're going to do that. I know people get all hung up on, how do you prove that your ancestors were enslaved? Okay. How about we'd give low interest mortgages, interest-free mortgages, free college, and maybe that's the free stuff you're talking about. But that will only better our community. So what's the problem? I don't get what the problem is. So educate me.
Black Americans are the most resilient because we lost everything. We lost our language, our culture, our identity, and was able to put pieces together and create a subculture, basically a synthetic culture based off of, we had land values here in America, right? And there's still things that they can never get taken out of us, but we have been reprogrammed 100 times. So even if your grandma, remember, my grandma was the first generation of, I want to go to college, I want to get a degree, I want to do this. Whole time, her mom was probably like, and they was that generation before, my grandma parents was like, schools ain't talking about nothing. Them schools was built by Rothschilds, and Boulay ran the schools. That's why NAACP, all the black groups, that's why none of that stuff helps us. None of these black communities, because first of all, your own people sold you out. The Boulay. Even when you have these conversations like there's a difference between niggas and black men, I was gonna make that video, but it's way deeper than that. Because there's people that's disguised as black men, that's really niggas, and you got niggas that's really stand up brothers. But really, we gotta be indigenous. We gotta be, if you ain't on that hey, this ancient America, and we've been here. In the Mississippi mountains, we built them. If you ain't on that, then you probably gonna lean more towards the programming. That's the only identity we need to recognize with the mound builders, the Mississippi River. Now, we don't have to connect it to Africa no more. Let's just talk about America, bro. Because people be like, oh, the Nile River was really the Mississippi River and Africa was America. That doesn't matter, bro. Africa is Africa, which is a fake name by Afrikaans, Afrikaners. So what are we talking about? The tribes there are divided with tribalism. I said that in my last video. So people want to tie ties back to Africa. Y'all got your own tribalism, sell out colonization that y'all got to worry about. America got colonized too, and they colonized the people. But guess what? We didn't go nowhere. We've been here. We still on the reservations, and they're not in the middle of the desert. You know where they at? Downtown Oklahoma, nigga. Auburn, Washington. What you talk about? South Carolina, Alabama, Florida, downtown Florida. It's not in the middle of nowhere, 2 hours out from where everything's built. No, it's right in the middle, in the heart of the niche, St. Louis. So think about these things, man. Black Americans are the most resilient because we lost everything. When you look at other cultures, they still, oh, I'm Haitian and I'm black and I'm Jamaican or I'm Salvadorian and I'm Guatemalan. They still get to like they got music, the food. Us, it's like we still had a soul food, but everything is like most of us ain't even tied with our South roots. And then our folks is getting older now, and we didn't view that as like we didn't view it as culture. I don't know how to explain it to y'all. Like even though we made a culture, we didn't view it as that. We were just acting and living based off of forgotten history. And as I get older, I realized that a lot of us didn't forget our culture, but a lot of us did. So growing up, I was tying with African identities. My middle name Shabaka because my dad named me that. Because he was the dead prayers, the Pan-Africanisms, the proud to be black and black man, African Kemet, and we was wearing all the things, the dashikis. That shit died out quick. It was a fad. We know who he is. Money blowing like grass with the mass appeal. We hip hop, we the land, we the dance, we the groove, we the jazz. Like we be geeking. You feel me? Like, and we're losing recipes. But black Americans are resilient because we always come out. And we ain't, even though a lot of us have failed to the bite, we have been through COINTELPRO. You got redlining. You got, man, that COINTELPRO boule shit is just, you got mass weaponry, mass chemical warfare. Because not only did they drop drugs in the community, but I remember my mom used to tell me like a lot of people like that when they moved to California, because my folks stay in Sacramento and all that. My mom's side they from staying in Sacramento and stuff like that. Like her mom and stuff like that, but they from Mississippi, Alabama, and my grandma and them they still down south, you know. And they could be tied all back, but when she was telling me like, yeah, people they used to have the plants, and the plants would push out these chemicals, and that's where all the black folks live, is right where the chemicals getting pushed out. So we living by these plants, and we getting sick, because we getting all type of tumors and diseases, and like they've been doing experiments on the land. But you gotta think about it. Back then, it wasn't a big immigration in America. It was only us, bro. They wiped a lot of us out, and they wiped memory, bro. So when we coming back into our power, bro, this is the perfect time to know who you are. I swear to you, bro, it gives you so much power, bro.
Woke up and said, wow, black people are human after all. Let's be nice. They didn't desegregate because they loved us. They desegregated because they couldn't afford to look stupid on the world stage. And they couldn't afford to let us get too powerful without them. After World War II, America was busy trying to sell itself as the leader of the free world. You know, democracy, liberty, justice for all. All the same stuff they were never giving to black people at home. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union was pointing and laughing. Freedom? Y'all can't even let black kids drink from the same water fountain. And America? They couldn't bomb their way out of that bad press. So the same people who spent decades lynching us, burning us out of towns, and pretending we didn't exist, decided it was time to clean up their image. Desegregation was never about morality. It was always about marketing. One thing they never tell you about desegregation, we weren't begging to sit next to them. We were thriving without them. Black businesses were booming. Black schools were educating future doctors, lawyers, and scientists. Black neighborhoods.
Hello, brothers and sisters. I'll repeat again. You cannot steal. You cannot take from the source, as it will find a way to build more, to rejuvenate, to rejuvenate. Is it rejuvenate? Yeah, to rejuvenate, to rejuvenate, to rejuvenate. Yeah, that's the word. To rejuvenate and to come up with more and more and more of these. There's a perfect case example with Black Americans. Black Americans are the classic example of the source. They are the source of the labor. They are the source of creativity. They are the source of talent. I'm not going to talk about the contributions that Black Americans have led to the American society and to the entire world and how they're being observed. Usually people take Black people for granted until they are left at a space where they have to make it for themselves. And that's when they learn that they cannot do without Black people. For the longest time, this has been proven. And you fail to understand why people are asking themselves, how come that Black people are doing so much well, even in these harsh times, even in these hard times? When we try to segregate from these folks, but they're still doing well. Trust me, they asking themselves that question. One thing that I'll answer. You cannot steal from the source. In as much as you have always tried to steal from black people, to take credit of things that don't belong to you, you have always you have always been on black people's business, taking their energy. Because even black people, it took them a while to understand that you people are taking their energy. So what tells you? 400 to 600 years of you feeding on black energy, but still, they're still great. But still, we are still seeing them making to the billboards, making it to the charts, topping all these things from literature, from technology, science. Black people have always been there. For the longest time, they have always been there. So when you came and you thought that black people are ghetto, that you don't want to live within the black neighborhood, and you went ahead and gave this hate towards immigrants and told them that when you go to the United States, don't go to black spaces, because to you, black people will only derail you. But think about it. Are you thriving now that you are in a white space only? Are you thriving? Are you able to pay the bill? Are you able to do all those things by yourself? You definitely need a black person. I mean, that's all that has been happening. And that's true when you just get to look at the observation of everything and how it has always been working for black people. You understand that black people are the blueprint. They are the blueprint of, and I'm not saying just to please black people, because what I'm saying is true. You can check it out. It's true. Right? So it's so mind-blowing that the same very group of people that thought that they could do without black people, they are learning that they cannot even move an inch without involving a black person or without black people being on that spot. And that tells you a lot of things about black people that you need to understand, that you need to know. And I think it's important for you to get to see the power of black excellence. That's why these people fear black unity. That's why these people fear black excellence, because black excellence threatens them. And now black people are also learning that they need to go back and give back to their communities. It is high time black people go back and build their communities. Yeah, with the same energy, because that's the energy that white people want. So if you give them, you lose yourself at the end of the day. Please let me know what you think and feel about this video. I'm your host and presenter Tech Stories. But until then, let me see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute. See you in my next video. See ya.